You're listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast, hosted by Ángel Fabián Rivera. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Ángel Fabián Rivera. Hola mi gente, welcome to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. This is a place where we dive deep into the captivating world of entertainment with influential Latinos shaping the industry. As always, you better know me already by now. My name is Ángel Fabián Rivera, and you better be following us in our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Ángel Fabián Rivera. And oh my god, today I have a very special person because this guest we met through threads, which was so funny to me, and she's just a powerhouse of purpose and passion. Heather Reese. She's a proud Latina creator, plus-size model, activist, and personal injury lawyer. She uses her voice and platform to champion body positivity, diversity, and social justice, while also advocating for those who've been harmed or underserved in the legal world. Whether she's in front of the camera or in the courtroom, Heather is driven by a deep commitment to empower others and create lasting change. Please, let's welcome Heather to this episode of Lights Camera Latino.
Thank you so much.
How are you, Heather?
I'm good.
You're good? Yes.
Yeah.
For everybody out there, where are you right now?
I'm actually in Maryland right now, but I work in Philadelphia and I live in Delaware.
Ooh, you're everywhere.
And I'm in New York on the weekends. Catch me in New York on the weekends for modeling. So.
Hell yeah, I love that. So there's no excuse to go see Heather. She's everywhere, okay? So each day of the week, she's at someplace different.
I like to keep it interesting.
Hey, we need to keep it interesting, you know? That's life, right? If it gets boring, then you got to change it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Heather, I wanna start, because I know we've had this conversation when we met, but I wanna ask you which Latina do you admire? What's the Latina that you're like, oh my god, I wanna be like that Latina? That Latina represents me.
She came with like zero apologies and did her thing, and I honestly admire that so much. Like, I just think a lot of the times as Latina women, we're like often told to be quiet or be sweet or be all of these a million different things, and I think that she was able to be powerful and sweet and outspoken and in a beautiful way, and I would definitely say her.
Can you say her name again? Because I missed the name. You kind of cut there.
Selena.
Oh,
anything
yes.
for Selena.
Please, I love. What's your favorite song of Selena?
Oh my gosh, I can't pick one. Like, I would be like, that sounds so horrible, but I feel like dreaming. Like, I'm dreaming of you tonight. Because I just like, I listened to that nonstop when I was younger. So I would say that song, but honestly, it's so hard because they're all different. They're all like bops in their own way, right? Like, some I want to jam out to, some I just want to like stare out a window while it's raining, for like a dramatic moment. There's so many different ones.
Telenovela.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, no joke, you're like the fourth person who mentioned Selena. Like, Selena has just she like, even today, she's just like transcended everyone, like, and only women, even men, because men have mentioned her name too, and I love that she's just been there for everyone, even today.
Yeah, I think she embodies so much of the Latina culture. Like, I just think it's the unapologetically being yourself and doing it for the world. right? Like,
Yeah.
I just think that that's the big part of it. I think, like especially right now, so many people are so used to trying to make themselves accessible. Um, I don't think she did that. I think she was like, what it is, this is who I am. And it's so because I actually have a hoodie with her on it and I almost wore it. And then I was like, no, I can't I'm not gonna be so I can't do that. That's so like cliche. And then it's funny because then you asked me about her anyway.
Yeah, you see, I said like if she were alive today, like she would be like the icon that she. I mean, if she
Iconic.
was an icon,
The
yeah,
icon.
if she was an icon there, you know, imagine now, like she would have just become everything. It's just interesting how you know how she's still relevant, you know, because some people are just to just do it one time, that's it. But she knows she's been there for us, and she's still here with us, and that is beautiful. The way that you know she impacted generations.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, I love that. So with that, Heather, I also want to ask you, like, if you, what's a Latino dish you cannot live without? That you're like, I cannot live without this.
Salchipapas.
Oh, what's that?
It's hot dogs and French fries. It's a Peruvian dish. And I probably say it wrong. And it's probably made with like real pork, but the way that I've always had it is with hot dogs and French fries, and it's so good. And it's like funny because I've grown up eating hot dogs, like beef hot dogs. And I was raised Jewish, obviously, like I wasn't raised in you know, the Latina culture. And I've, you know, really embraced it in the past like 2 to 4 years. And I've met so many amazing Peruvian women. And it's funny getting to experience all these Peruvian dishes and realizing that they're all foods that I love. Like it's just kind of it's like it was always a piece of me even when I didn't know it.
Wow, that's incredible. I need to try that now. I mean, I love hot dogs too, so maybe I will love that too.
It's really good. You got to go to a
I
good
gotta
Peruvian
try.
restaurant for it.
Okay, now I know. Now I know what to. Now I know what to order for. You know. Now I order. Now I know what I want to order. Huh. So Heather, let's go ahead. Let's jump in because you just mentioned that you grew up in a Jewish family, right? So how or when the Latina part of you really come out, and how was that growing up? Like you know, you mentioned you were growing up Jewish, and I know we talked about this before, but how did the Latino heritage or culture got involved in you or with you, or when? You know, how was that growing up without having that Latino, you know?
Yeah, so I'm adopted from Peru, and my brother is adopted from Honduras, and my sister's adopted from Peru as well. Our parents were always very open with us being adopted, and I think a big part of it is because we look nothing like our parents. My dad is like a 6'7" hippie from California. So like there was like literally no way we were like, no, that's definitely our blood father, birth father. But what they did for all of us is they had maps of our countries from where we were born in our rooms when we were growing up. We all had jewelry boxes from our countries filled with trinkets and money and jewelry and like little toys and pictures from our countries. So our parents were always very honest and open with the conversation and told us about our culture, but obviously that wasn't the culture that they were in. So they didn't raise us with it. So we never had Spanish food growing up. I never had Peruvian food. I didn't listen to Peruvian music. There was none of that. It was very, you know, just like a I guess a standard American family. And it was an interesting upbringing, especially being like I went to Jewish schools. I went to a private Jewish school, and being the only Latina there was definitely a unique experience. It wasn't one that I even really noticed being different because it was more controversial to not be Jewish at the school than to be a Latina. So me being Latina was like very much like overshadowed. Like I didn't even notice it being a thing, and no one had ever said anything to me. Like no one from my school. It was never like I was treated different or anything like that. It wasn't until I went to a public middle school and a public high school where I became painfully aware of the fact that people have biases towards different cultures and different religions. And it really wasn't, my first experience with, being discriminated against wasn't even about me being Latina. It was more about me being Jewish and Latina, right? Like I didn't look Jewish enough for the person. Like they couldn't grasp that somebody that looked like me was Jewish. But yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely unique. And I think in the last 2 years to 4 years, I really wanted to embrace my culture because there was a piece of me that was always missing. I had always lived by the definition of other people. And I said, my life is going through this massive change and I want to find myself. And I was looking for community. And I said, I'm going to search, from the beginning of where I came from. And yeah, it's been this really amazing journey that I've got to experience through adulthood in finding culture, in finding community. It's been beautiful.
Wow. So that's a beautiful story and a beautiful journey, right? Because people don't understand that, even by not being part of like another community, or you being part of that community but not being part of the other community, it even makes you feel like, what then where do I belong to, right? Because even the Jewish community were like, you're not even, why are you Jewish? You don't look Jewish. And then the Latino people were like, you don't even speak Spanish, I bet, right? That was another thing that happened there, right? I was like, so it's like, why are you Latina? You're not Latina, or this and the other. So it's like, it must have been hard to like find that, yourself in it. So how was it? You said that in the last 4 years is when you've actually like really worked it out to find yourself in that. So when was that moment? How did you realize I need to really dig into my roots and really dig into who I am? Why? When was that moment, and why? Why do you think it happened at that specific moment?
Yeah, so I was going through a divorce, and I think, everything in my life kind of just shattered. And I said, I need to redefine myself because I've been living, by the rules of what my parents wanted, then my husband at the time. And I said, I think it's time for me to live for me. And what do I even like? Like, do I even like burgers? Do I even like, whatever I was eating at the time or looking at or listening to, right? I was like, who am I? Like, I was trying to start from scratch because I had lived for so many other people that you lose pieces of yourself. And it wasn't that I wasn't myself, it was that myself was just being constantly shaped by other people. So when all of that came crashing down, I said, well, this is tragic, but I have this amazing opportunity to get to build myself up however I want to do it. And I get to really discover, like, do I even eat meat? Like, do I like meat? Like, do I like cheeseburgers? Like, what's my favorite color? Like, what's my favorite music? Like, do I even like peanut butter? I don't know. And it was a really fun journey getting to find myself, but it was even more beautiful because I got to really look at, my actual heritage, and I got to really learn about the Peruvian culture, and I got to learn about Peruvian food, and I got to meet Peruvian people. And it really kind of all came about when I started to look around as an attorney and realized that I was the only person that looked like myself in a room. And I said, why is that? Like, is this solely because of all the amazing privileges I've had in life? And that's a huge part of it. And I never hide that. I'm incredibly privileged. I've been incredibly taken care of. There have been so many. My success is part of a big picture that a lot of people have helped create. And that isn't always the case for Latinas, right? Mentorship is gate-kept in a lot of communities, including the law. And that never happened to me because my best friend's dad was a lawyer, and my parents knew lawyers. So me becoming a lawyer and going to law school and getting all these amazing internships was a very seamless transition for me. And it really took me, having my life do this life-altering shift to realize that I need to help other people that look like me get in these rooms. Like, I need to figure out what I can do, just me, myself, to strike up a conversation or help people in any way that I can get from my community here.
Yeah, no, and it's very interesting because you know, use this instead of feeling, because I bet you obviously in the beginning you were like, why am I in this room, why am I the only one that looks like this? But instead of looking it that way, right, it should be like, I am, like you said, I'm privileged to be in this room, then I am gonna use it in my favor because I am different, right? And how do you use that to inspire others? And that's what you've been doing, you know. We're gonna talk about that because that's you know, when we are in these spaces, that's what that's gonna differentiate, right? Like what you do with it. Like, am I just gonna gatekeep it and just close the doors for everyone else that looks like me, or am I actually gonna help others that look like me, right, to enter into these spaces that normally are not, you know, are not used by people like you. So I love that you do that, and I also love that you mentioned there that you took your time, right? You're taking your time to really get to know yourself, and ultimately, I'm like, you know, we had this big thing of like not being Latina enough, right? And I think that what makes something different from one to the other, it's like, I grew up, like, there's no excuses, right? Like, you grew up in a space where being Latina was not a big thing because your family was not Latino, so they could do as much as they can, right? Because what else are they gonna teach you? So, but yeah, but you don't have excuses now as an adult if you really want to get in touch with you know, with yourself, with your heritage, with where you come from, and that's all it takes. You know, it doesn't take like to grow up in a community, you know, in a house where people speak Spanish or this and that, or food or that. That's not it. That's not all of it, right? That's part of it, but it's also in you, and you've taken your time to really dig into your heritage, dig into your Peruvian, you know, roots, dig into you know, stuff like that. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of life too, right? Like we keep growing up, and we keep growing, and we keep getting to know ourselves. We keep getting to dig where we come from, and that's what's gonna make the difference, you know. And I love that for you. I love that you're doing that, Heather. And I want everyone out there to understand that being Latino is not just because you speak Spanish. Being Latino is not because you were born at a Latino country, right? That's not it. That's not all. There's more to it, you know.
I think we're the only, it's also interesting to me because I feel like we never do that to Italian people, right? We never go to an Italian person and be like, you don't speak Italian, you're not Italian enough, right? Like we never do that. But with us and with this community, there's like this crazy, overwhelming need to have to be able to speak Spanish when Spanish
and it's ourselves,
even the only language spoke.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. It's within our community. It's our community that does that to other people in the same community, and it's like, why are we doing that? You know, why are we doing that? And you know, especially living in the days that we're living right now.
We
you
let
know,
other
why?
People win when we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that is truth.
We have to stick together, especially now when everything is against us. And for us to be so divided, it's so sad, because I think society did a really amazing job with women, making them feel like they have to compete constantly. Mm-hmm. And it's happening across the board, right? And now it's you know, culturally competing, you know, and it's kind of really sad when you think about it, because you're like, why would I compete with people are my people, right? Like that, we're all minorities. Like, what are we doing? Like, we have to stick together, because we are right now in such a risky situation that it has to be like we're protecting one another. We have each other's backs. And I think so many people are still stuck in this narration of competition, when in reality, us competing against one another is letting the other team win, because they're just watching it and are like, nope, they're still fighting with each other. When it's like, no, let's just all join together, because not being Latina enough is the craziest thing in the world to say to somebody else. Like, I gasp anytime somebody says that. I'm like, what do you mean? My blood is from girl? What do you want from me? Like, yes, I don't speak Spanish. And honestly, so many people say to me, why don't you learn Spanish? And I think as I'm on this journey, I will eventually learn Spanish, but I won't learn Spanish to solidify the narration that I have to speak Spanish to be Latina enough. And I think if I do it right now, it's letting everyone win. And I'm not going to do that. Like, there are so many other ways to connect with my culture than just learning a singular language that isn't spoke by everyone that is Latina.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I love that, because I think people need to understand that more. And I love that you said that we need to stop fighting with each other, because there's that thing, like for example, I come from the film industry, right? So in the film industry, there's something that I've seen a lot, and it's like, I am Puerto Rican, your movie is Peruvian, I'm not gonna support or watch your movie because it's Peruvian. It doesn't represent me. But at the end of the day, we're not uplifting each other, and we need to get together as a community, as a Latino community, because we've all been suffering the same things, we've all been going through the same things, in the bigger picture, right? And it's like, why am I not supporting you because you're this or that? Why am I not supporting you because you're not this, or you're not, when it's more than that. And I'm like, people need to stop bringing that, and getting together more and understanding each other more, and just being there for each other. That's all we can do, support each other and help each other, uplift each other. When you see a Latino, thriving and making it there, support them, because someone like them to get to where they are, it's a big milestone, and we need to celebrate it no matter what. And that's our problem as a community. And I think in order to move forward, there has to be a way that for us to like get together and realize that in order to move forward, we need to get together. There's no other way. Like, there's no other way to continue, especially in this country.
For us.
No.
The rooms weren't designed for any of us, and when one of us is in the room, it's an accomplishment. And I think that's the big thing people really have a hard time grasping, is that none of this was made for us, for any of us. And we have to be supportive when anybody them to be invited into that room, right? And I think you cheering somebody else on doesn't take anything away from you. And if it does, then that internal need to work out, because it shouldn't. Somebody else's success isn't your failure.
I love that line there. I think everybody should listen to that more and apply that to their everyday life. Like, that's the only way we can move forward as a community. That's the way it should be. So Heather, I wanna move in with to talk about what you do, right? And first of all, like, for me, it intrigues me everything that you do, right? Because I think I told you this, but you're like a Wonder Woman. You do this and that and everything, and you work with law, you work with justice, but you also love to be in front of the camera, love to be on the runway. So what sparked your interest in both law and content creation? Like, how do you even balance to do all that? Like, when did that happen? When was the moment you said, I'm going to do law and I'm also going to do content creation and do it all?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. So like I said, my best friend's dad was a lawyer. And when I was young, I hated school. And I would do any excuse not to have to go to school. So I got to go watch him do arbitrations and trials. And it was like an educational thing that I was getting to do. And I was so amazed by his ability to communicate facts and move people that I said, that's what I want to be able to do. What that man is doing, I want to be able to do it. And the first time I saw him do it, I was like, I'm hooked. I need to learn how to do it. I need to learn how to be able to communicate that way, how to be compelling, how to be kind, and how to be very, very straightforward, in a way that people are absorbing information that they think is their idea. It's such a powerful tool. And so I wanted to do that ever since then. And I would go with him all the time when I was younger. I interned at his law firms when I was younger.
Wow.
He encouraged me to go to law school. I went to law school, and I was a lawyer for 2 years at a big firm in the city. And I decided that, I was like, I really love content creation. Like I really love social media. And at that time, my marriage had fallen apart, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to film it. Like if I'm going through this massive turmoil, I need to find community that is too. And I found divorce
Mm.
talk, and then I found millennial talk, and all over TikTok. And I was like, okay, well, these people get it. Like this Kelsey Ballerini album is hitting so hard right now, and it's exactly how I feel. And there were just so many amazing like musicians that came out with breakup albums when my marriage was falling apart. It was like so like I can't even like symbiotic. It was crazy. And I said, well, I'm just gonna make a little diary for myself on like my journey
Mm.
of kind of dealing with this and how it happens, and what I'm doing. Um, and I just started creating content. And then I said, well, you know what? I need to find something bigger. I said, I need a bigger purpose. It can't just be that I'm crying on camera, listening to Kelsey Ballerini. It needs to be bigger than that. Or dancing to flowers. Like it has to be bigger than this. Me and my dog just dancing. And I said, I think I'm gonna start showcasing Latina owned businesses. Like I think what I'm gonna
Mm.
start doing is finding where we have no visibility and help create visibility. Because to
Mm.
me, it wasn't about, and it still isn't about, selling you a product. It's about you knowing that there's other options out there. Because I said, all of these products that I'm buying are all made by um, white founders, and that's
Mhm.
and that's fine. But I said, where are my people creating stuff?
Mm.
And I made a thread, and I was just like, hey, I'm trying to showcase, Latino owned businesses of everyday items, of everything from like the top to the bottom. And I want to show people that you could buy anything under the sun
Mm.
from your own community.
Yeah.
And that generational wealth is built in putting money back into your community. You don't have to be big
Mm.
box brand names. You can buy. I mean, and some big box brands are run by Latinos. You just don't know it. And that was the whole thing. I wanted to learn myself, and then I wanted to help other people learn it. So I started making that. More people responded than I thought would. And then I said, I'm going to keep shooting my shot. And a woman from Crusades of Curves, Mal, had posted about looking for a model for a runway shoot in Philadelphia. And I was like, what do I have to lose, right? Like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. And I
Let's
said,
do it.
hey,
Let's try it.
I was like, I'm not a formal model, but I feel like this would be good. And she was great. And she was like, send me a walking video. And what I've learned about modeling and law is that people don't like their time wasted. And when they ask for something, you need to give it. And that's how it is in law
Mm.
too. So she asked me for a video. And I remember the second I got her message, I literally said to my assistant at the time, I need you to film me walking down the hallway at work. It sounds crazy, but I just need you to film me walking. She was like, it's like 6 a.m. What are you doing? And I was like, film walking. And I sent it to her, and she was like, you're booked. And I got to walk a runway that September, and it was like my entire life changed. I got several shoots after that. I've continued to get shoots. She has a show happening in June in LA that I'll be at. And it's just been like getting to meet all the people that she curates for her show is insane. Like she is such an amazing person. She truly changed my life. And modeling has been this way of me telling people that Latinas come in all shapes and sizes. I'm not your Sofia Vergara. I'm not your Salma Hayek, but I love everything about me. And I think I'm damn beautiful, whether or not it is what society says is technically beautiful or not. And that was a big thing about me wanting to do runways. I wanted a little girl that looked like me to be like, it's okay, there's somebody else who's killing it out there that looks like me.
No, I love that. I love that because you also use that, right? Like you use that part of being a plus size model in your social media as well, right? Like, and talk about body positivity, and I wanted to ask you about that, that same thing, because what does body positivity mean to you? I think it means something different to everyone, but I want to know what it means to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is like it has so many variations of a thought, right? Like for me, it's just me loving myself. It's about me
Mm,
being positive, speaking only positively about my body. That doesn't
mm,
mean that I don't, that doesn't mean that I'm not on a health journey. That doesn't mean that I don't work out. That doesn't mean that I don't like people that don't work out. That doesn't mean that I would hate myself if I didn't work out. I think there's so many people that think it just means one thing. I think you could be
mm,
skinny and be a body positive person. I think that you could be big and be a body positive person. I don't think it is defined by the size to which you are. I think it's in
mm,
the way you speak about yourself. And I think that's, to me, the most powerful thing, because I think it's getting more villainized by a lot of people by saying, the skinny community isn't allowed in it. And that's not what it is at all, for
mm,
me, at least. Like, am I not a conventionally attractive person in societal standards? No, I don't fit that stream. And that's okay with me, right? Like, I have no issues with conventionally attractive people. Sometimes they hate to see people like me loving myself, and that's their own business. But
and
body
that's, yeah.
positivity, right? But body positivity to me doesn't mean that I have to be big. It doesn't mean that I have to be skinny. It just means that I have to have positive light and positive words about my particular body. Whatever skin
Mm.
I'm in, whatever body I'm in, that's what it is for me.
I love that, because you also mentioned, like, you can also be skinny, and you can also have a very bad diet. That, again, there's so many ways that you see it. Like, people have these stereotypes of, like, oh, they put something and they equalize it to something else, when it's not necessarily it. And we need to break that stigma. We live in a society that, if you're, again, like, going with the Latina enough, but in the body part too, like, it's like, oh, you have they always find that negativity in you. Oh, you're like this, or your nose is like that, or your body is like this, or your hair is like that, or there's always something wrong, right? But it's
Yeah.
like, why are we talking about the negatives, and why aren't we talking about the positive of it? And again, who says what is right, what is wrong in a body, right? Like, who has the perfect body example that we can
Right.
say, oh, everybody needs to look like that? It's just, we've lived in a society where, yes, they've set some beauty standards, or whatever that means, right? Where we've grown up watching movies, and watching this big, this famous people be like, oh, this is the perfect body, or this is the perfect, way you got to do this. This is the perfect. It's like, why are we still following that? Why aren't we breaking that? Why are we following this stigma that's not real? There's not such thing as
Yeah.
perfect, right? There isn't, and it's
I
never
think I
gonna
can
be
be
it.
the main
Nobody.
character. And I think, yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's the big thing. I think body positivity and media have portrayed people that look like me to never be the main character, right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
going to be the funny friend.
yeah,
And that's not it. I've never lived my life as a funny friend. I mean, I'm funny, but I'm always going to be the main character. And
yeah.
I think that that's hard for a lot of people to digest. I think that's, to me, so much of body positivity, and so much of just being somebody who's confident, right? And having self-love, is saying
Mm.
that I am the main character, regardless of whether society is ever going to cast me as the main character.
I I love that you say that, because, Heather, this is like, for me, it took me years to also love myself, right? Like, people talk about, right, like, being skinny, or being, this or that, but for me, growing up, people made fun of me because I was too skinny. It was like, they call me, like noodle arms, or this and that, because and again, like, this is the way my body works. Like, honestly, I eat a lot, and it's just that this is the way my body works. Like, I've tried everything, right? But this is how my body is shaped as well. And I've
Yeah.
had so much trouble with it. Like, growing up, it was like a thing in my head. It's like, people made me think about, like, why am I like this? Why do I look like this? Why do I feel bad about myself? And it's not until I start seeing the best part of myself when I started loving myself more, right? And it takes time and it takes courage to also realize what are your favorite parts of your body, right? What's your, like, love yourself no matter what. Like, think about the good things about yourself. And it takes a lot of work, and people think it's easy. People, and again, you mentioned, like, when people see you being confident, they're like, why is she confident, and people make fun of that, but it's like, they don't know the journey it took you to get to where you are right now.
Therapy,
and the work that you put.
A gift. Therapy is a huge gift that so many people need. And I think, I think when you really love yourself, you don't seek validation of others. And I think that's where I've gotten in life, where the validation of somebody else thinking my body is what they want is gone. I don't need it. I know what I am, and I know what I like, and I know what I bring to a table. So I've never been the type to be like, let me make myself smaller for you to find me appetizing, because you don't have to. And I think there's also this really dangerous line that happens in the plus size community, where some people don't acknowledge that it can also happen on the other end of the spectrum, right? Like, I have a lot of really thin friends, and I remember going shopping with one of them thinking like, oh, it must be so easy for you to find clothes. And then I remember going shopping, and there was no 2X's, or double X small. There was none, and she couldn't find a single shirt. And it was this crazy opposite end of the spectrum, because I was like, girl, I can never find a 2-3X, and you can never find a 2-3S. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm over here in my world thinking that it's so easy in your world, thinking that it was like, oh, you must be able to walk into any insert, store brand, and go to the clearance rack and be able to find a shirt. And she was like, no, Head, like, unless I'm a smaller, a medium, like, because that's like, I guess, the most generic size right now. She's like, I can't find stuff. And I was like, what? I was like, I didn't even know that's a thing. Like, I thought clothes were literally made for you, not for me. And she was like, no. And I think that's the other thing. I think there has to be an acknowledgement on both ends, right? That it can't just be only looking at it from one end of the spectrum, because I'm not sitting here and saying that skinny privilege isn't a thing. It is in a lot of ways, but it's not always in every way. And I think that's the big thing that so many people don't want to talk about or neglect to acknowledge.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because for me, what happened with me growing up was like, small shirts were always too short, but medium shirts were always too big for me. So, because I'm tall, right? And that was funny, because it was never like I was never, Heather, I was never comfortable in clothes, because everything looked so like big, either too big on me or too short on me, or too like small on me. And that also added to the stress in my head, right? Like, why am I like this? Why? And people kept on saying like, you're too skinny, right? Like, you're this and that. And he was like, what should I do? What am I doing wrong? Then I'm trying clothes and nothing fits me like how I visualize myself too, right? Because that's another thing. Like, you visualize yourself looking this and that because you see it. And it's like, what should I actually wear? And that's also was a struggle for me growing up. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because I think it's true. I think people need to acknowledge both sides. Yes, there's a certain, thing about, being skinny that beauty standards has set up in there, right? But to what end, right? And that's, some people that go through that have also experienced that, because, and that's something that people need to see more, And again, I wish people would see themselves how you see yourself. And I love the way you talk about that. I love the way that you talk about the positive part of it, because we need to be like that more. I think if the world would be like that, we will be a better world.
For sure.
Definitely. So I want to talk, because I want to switch things a little, because I know you're a lawyer. You do a lot of activism as well. So how does the intersectional, because that's intersectional activism is something that you do. How does the intersectional activism show up in your daily work when you're practicing the law?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about advocating for people that have been wrongfully injured is acknowledging their pain and coming from a place where you can understand it, right? Like, I have an
Mm,
autoimmune condition and I speak very openly about it on the internet, right? And I deal with pain every day. Like, it's a constant
mm,
thing that I deal with. And I think it really makes it easy for me to communicate with people who are also dealing with pain, right? Because
mm,
I'm able to understand that sometimes when you wake up in the morning, it's more stiff and it hurts more, or when it rains, it can sometimes be worse, right? There are so many things that the average person might not understand that somebody who deals with chronic pain can understand. So I think that there's always parts of me that advocate for people that, have autoimmune conditions. And I think because I'm able to do that and because I'm able to acknowledge it also in my work, it really, both of my lives have always overridden with each other, right? There's always
mm,
this this overlapping. And I think when it comes to activism as a whole, right, I'm a woman,
mm,
and I identify as a woman. And I think there are a lot of people that I work with, client wise, are sometimes in a different, most of the time in a different socioeconomic status than I'm in, right? And you get to see all the things that some people are not having to live without, right?
mm,
And I think for me, particularly as a woman, there's this, what I've learned over the course of my life, especially as I've gotten older, is that there is such a gap when it comes to women who are in lower socioeconomic standards, um, than women who are upper when it comes to the accessibility of menstrual products, for example, right?
mm,
And I think I've volunteered for a lot of different groups advocating for that and just education on that. Women's rights, like I said, accessibility to things like menstrual products, and all of those things kind of play a role in also what I do as a job, right? Because I'm wanting to constantly advocate for somebody. And that's the whole point of me wanting to be a
mm,
lawyer.
mm,
And it really shows up in the other work that I do. I'm very lucky that I work in a field where I can do both, where you know, there is availability and accessibility for me to be able to also advocate for people that need it. Um, and I think all lawyers should be activists in their own right, right? Like, we're
mm,
taught law,
mm,
we're taught how the rule of law is such an important thing. And I think
mhm,
when there is a fear that the rule of law isn't being followed, there has to be people that are speaking up and saying, like, hey, we're worried. And there are so many amazing attorneys that are on social media right now that are talking about everything going on in the world, right? There's like Attorney Martinez, there's Delara, there's Reb Maisel, there's just a few of like the really big Instagram lawyers. Um, and I think, a good thing about being a lawyer is that you know other lawyers and that you know lawyers
mm,
who have good material, good information, and have vetted information. Because I think that's the even bigger thing, right? Is
mm,
that you can reshare information that isn't vetted, and that's dangerous. So I think
mm,
being able to know people that have knowledge, that have the education, that are in specialties that people need, is incredibly important. And I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And I reshare information as much as I can that I think is helpful to the community. I know a lot of immigration attorneys. I reshare their information. I'll never give advice. I'll never give legal advice on the internet. That's simply not me. You won't catch me doing that. Um, and I always say, reach out to somebody in that field. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
people often think that when you're a lawyer, it's a lot like when people are doctors, where they're like, you must know everything.
It's
Like,
like,
a cardiologist doesn't really know why your toe hurts, right? Like, so I can't help you with immigration. I'm a personal injury lawyer. If you fall, I
mhm,
have you. But if you need help with immigration, that's not me. If you need to get out of a
yeah,
speeding ticket, that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, you get arrested, that's not me. But
that's
I
what I
can
mean.
point you to the people that it is, right? Like, I can tell you, I know all these really great people that will be able to help you, that it's not me. Um, so I think, that's kind of where activism and lawyering kind of override, is that you're able to see all of these other things that need to be seen, and you have a duty and obligation to make sure that you're sharing information with the general public that is vetted, accurate, and safe.
I love that, and I love that you also mentioned social media, because I wanted to ask you how do you maintain, you know, your authenticity, your values, from being a lawyer to being on social media at the same time? Like, how do you manage to go through those two worlds, right? Like, normally we don't see, you know, like, together. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of just am like, this is what it is. Like, I think I've always said I am going to be who I am on the internet as I am in real life. Like,
Huh.
this is, I don't think professionalism is defined by any one thing. And I think I can be a girl who walks the runway and is also a zealous advocate for my client, right? Like, I can be a girl who models in New York and also gets you a killer settlement, right? Like, those things are not antonyms. They can be synonymous. Just because you haven't seen them as being a thing that can happen together doesn't mean that they don't happen together. So, I mean, that's kind of my thing, is always trying to break the mold on what people define professionalism as, and then also what is defined as, you know, acceptable for being an attorney, right? Like, I'm not this uptight person, and I'm never going to be this uptight person. There's just not me. And if that's what people wanted, I'm like, then I'm not the attorney for you anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that, because people need to realize that you don't need to be one thing, and you can use, you know, those two things that you do and use it to advocate and to change lives, and to showcase something, and to speak for other people. And you're doing that, Heather. Like, you are, like, again, like I told you in the beginning, you're like Wonder Woman. You know, you do this, you fight crime by day, you do the other way around. You fight, you know, crime by day, and then during the nights you're modeling on a runway, like, you know, and that's beautiful. And I think little girls will look up to you, and will see that they can be anything. And I want everybody out there to understand that too, you know, that you don't need to be one thing. You know, you can help in so many ways, and you can, you know, you can raise awareness in so many ways, and you're doing that with everything that you do. And I really, really, really adore what you do. So congrats for doing all that you do, Heather, because you're definitely making a difference. And I know this is just the beginning of it, you know. You've been in your journey for the last couple of years. So I cannot imagine what you're going to become, you know, in the next couple of years. So it's beautiful, Heather. Thank you
so
for the
much.
work that
really
you do
appreciate
for the community. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do Latino Trivia Showdown. I'm going to give you 5 categories to choose from, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions of that category to choose, okay? So there's no stress, there's no wrong answers here.
I'm nervous.
There may be a wrong answer, but it's okay, you got this. This is the real test, Heather. So we got first category is history and culture. Second, music and entertainment. Third, food and drinks. Fourth, geography. And fifth is famous Latinos and achievements.
Okay, and I have to pick how many?
Yeah, pick one. Just pick one, and we'll do 3 questions of that category.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do geography.
Whoa, that's the real test. I love it.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is, the Amazon rainforest is mainly located in which country? Brazil, Peru, or that place where all the crazy animals live?
Wait, where's that place where all the crazy animals live? Oh, you're just saying. That's so funny. Okay. I would say Brazil.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay. I was like,
You
wait.
got it.
Okay.
You got it. You got the first one.
My geography teacher
Okay.
would be so proud of me.
Yes. What is the largest country in South America by land area? Okay. Is it Argentina? Is it Chile? Is it Brazil, or is the one that takes forever to fly over?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because I feel like Chile is really long. Like, I know, like, it's so long, but I don't know.
It's land
Like,
area, yes.
I don't know what land area even means. That's so fair. Oh my God. I promise that's not a part of law that I ever have to know. Okay. Land area, is that just like long? You know?
That's just like what, yeah, that doesn't necessarily have to be long or wide. It's like more like how big it is, you know? Basically how big it is.
Okay, well, it's not that big, it's skinny. It's long though,
Exactly.
but it's skinny. All right. So I'm gonna go with, I mean, I feel like it's Brazil again. It could be Argentina though. Ugh. Wait, hold on.
What's your final answer?
It's Brazil. It's Brazil. I'm gonna go with Brazil.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank God. Thank God.
See, you did it. 2 out of 2. Brazil, it's in the lead.
Okay.
Okay, and the last one. You got this. Okay. Which 2 South American countries do not have a coastline? Okay, do not have a coastline.
Okay.
Bolivia and Paraguay, Ecuador and Venezuela, Colombia and Bolivia. Wait, no, I said that already. Wait. Bolivia and Paraguay is the first one. Ecuador and Venezuela, and the ones I always forget in geography class. Yes, that's what's up.
No, it's definitely Uruguay and Bolivia.
Yeah, Paraguay and Bolivia. Yeah. Your face, she was like, what?
I was like, wait, no, I was like, because I know South America. I'm from South America. So I was like, Venezuela? No, they got a coastline. I know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. You got it.
Oh my God.
3 out of 3.
3 out of
Heather,
3?
you did it. You did it.
Geography. Oh my God.
In
3 out of 3
geography.
My school would be so proud of me.
They will be so proud. Better. I don't know any of the. I'm so bad at geography and history, so I applaud you.
Thank you. I definitely would not have done so well on the other ones, which is why I was like, no, we got to go with one that like I learned in social studies and geography. Like I know these. I can't mess them up that bad.
You did it. Your teachers will be very proud today. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heather, before we leave, I want everyone to know where they can find you on social media platforms, what you do over there, how can people collaborate with you as well, and also what's next for you.
Okay. Well, first I have to say that everything I've said today is my opinion and my opinion only, and doesn't represent any firm or organization I'm associated with. That I have to say. Second, how to find me is best on Instagram, Heather_RXOXO. I read all my DMs. I respond to everybody. And what's next for me? I'm going to be in LA in June for a runway show. And I will be speaking at a women's event in September in New Orleans. So those are the 2 things. And I'm getting married. So like, I have so many exciting things coming up. But I would say those are the 3 main things.
I love that, Heather. Congratulations for your marriage and for your wedding. I love that. Excited for you.
A girl
for this
like
new
me
chapter.
doesn't stay single for long, you know?
I love that. This is your new chapter. I love it. It's a new you. And congrats for the modeling gig in LA. I love that. Okay, let's go support our girl.
Thank
if you're
you.
in LA, hit Heather and go
First
there.
Come out.
Yeah. I love that. Heather, I always like to learn the episode with a piece of advice for those, for those young Latinos out there who are fearing doing what they've always wanted to do, and you're such a, like I said again, you're such a believer in that. Whatever you do, you do with passion, and I love the way you do things. And you do things with such heart and with such love. what's the piece of advice you give to the people, to the Latinos out there that are trying to do something, but they're afraid of failing, they're afraid of doing it?
I would say that failure isn't your enemy. Like failure isn't your enemy. If you're gonna fail at a few things, then you'll be successful the next time. And I think being afraid, having failure being the worst thing that could happen to you is such a small-minded concept because it really isn't. It's really a learning journey experience for you. So I would say enjoy every moment that you can, because really the biggest enemy of us is time. It's not failure.
That's beautiful. The biggest enemy is time, not failure. Wow. Yeah. No, don't leave things for tomorrow. Do them today. You know, if you can do it today, do it. Like you said, like you wrote to the modeling people, right? And look at you today. You're here. You're doing it. You know, but you did it. You know, you didn't leave it in the what if. You didn't leave it in like, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. You did it, and you recorded the video right away. And look at you now. You know, those small steps are gonna mean something in the future. Sometimes we gotta just sit down and realize that small steps takes us, you know, bigger, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of life. We gotta do things if we want it. If we feel like we want to do something, we just gotta do it. There's no other way. Heather, thank you so much for today. It really means a lot speaking to you. You speak with such wisdom, and you're so educated. You're so the work that you do, again, like the advocacy that you do, it's amazing. And what you're doing for plus size models out there, for plus size people in general, it's also very beautiful. And the way you talk about body positivity, I think everyone has to learn about that. Not only plus size people, I think everyone has to learn how to love themselves no matter what. And I think the world will be better if everybody understood that, you know, we're just the way we are, and that's it. You know, there's no changing of that. So
thank you.
I really thank you.
That's so sweet. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really thank you for this conversation, and hopefully it's not the last one. And I want to see you up there doing your runways, and hopefully I'll meet you in person soon when I get to New York, and we'll collaborate soon. And I'm excited for your journey. And we're here. We're your family here in Lights Camera Latino. So whatever you need, we'll be gladly to promote you and put you out there and help you in any capacity that we can. That's what I want to do with this, you know, with this whole project of Lights Camera Latino. So this is your family now. This is your house. Thank you again for being in this episode of Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. And I always like to end with this phrase: when life knocks you down, levántate con más fuerza, keep fighting. So thank you everyone for listening to this episode. Hasta la próxima. This was Fabián Rivera with Heather Reese.